let's get started. Sorry. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How's everybody doing? I know you have waited a long, long time for this panel. Some of us thought this moment would never come, so thank you all for joining us. My name is, can we actually turn that down? It's like the audio is loud, or unplug it or something. My name is Dina Takruri, and I'm a senior presenter at AJ Plus. That's Al Jazeera's all-digital video news network based in San Francisco. And just out of curiosity to sort of gauge the room, who here has seen AJ Plus in their Facebook feed, for example? Awesome, I love that. That makes me very happy, because a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago before we launched, you'd ask that question and it would be maybe 2 people. But thank you for joining this evening of dialogue about the future of media. But before we talk about the future, we have to take a look at where we are right now in the present. And if you had told me at the start of my career, which wasn't that long ago because I'm not that old, that in a few years I would be hosting and producing videos that would get millions of views, reach people around the world, and sometimes go viral without ever once being on television, I probably wouldn't have believed you, but that's where we are right now. We've seen digital media explode in a very, very profound way, and it's revolutionized how we create and consume content, from news to entertainment. It's enabled anyone with a cell phone to be, and a camera, to be a publisher in their own right. It's democratized how information is generated and disseminated, and it's empowered all of you as users, because news outlets and platforms are forced to respond to what you want. So I'm really excited to talk about this current moment that we're in right now, as well as the future, where we're headed, with our 2 speakers, who I'd like to introduce right now. And right next to me, I'm joined by Shadi Rahimi, who is a senior producer at AJ Plus. Incidentally, she's also my producer, so I work very, very closely with her. She produces our series called Direct From with Dina Takruri. We have reported together from Europe's refugee crisis, from Palestine, from both sides of the US-Mexico border, most recently the border with North Korea. Shadi is also the former acting executive producer of engagement at AJ Plus. She has previously worked with the New York Times and various other news outlets. Mohammed Bayazid is joining us over here. He is an award-winning Syrian filmmaker, and he studied film and screenwriting at very prestigious places. He's directed many TV commercials, public service announcements, TV programs, documentaries, and he's also known for giving filmmaking courses around the world. Recently, he's directed 2 series of an American mini-drama series called Inspiration. Is that correct? And he's the director of an award-winning film, Orshina, that talks about refugees. Thank you both for joining me. I want this to be sort of a free-flowing dialogue, so feel free to jump in at any point. We'll also have an opportunity for questions and answers at the end. But Mohammed, I want to start with you. I sort of alluded to the power of platforms right now. And we know that film and television is no longer confined to just the theater or the TV screen. We have Netflix, you have Amazon, you have Hulu. How has that changed the industry, in your opinion? And has it been as beneficial to you as a filmmaker as it has been to us as an audience?
Yeah. Platforms played a huge role, in my opinion, in changing the nature of productions. So 10 years ago, when you look back, it's crazy, and how much productions have been changed in these 10 years. We had this classic, films, 2-hour film, and we had the 1-hour drama. And then we had YouTube. And YouTube, as a new platform, forced somehow, producers to adapt and create a content that is custom-made to this new platform. Shorter videos, crazier things, and lower cost, because there's no income coming from that. And then we had a lot of other platforms, and I believe that these new platforms were very beneficial to new filmmakers, that's for sure. But somehow they might have been damaging to already existing and established filmmakers, because suddenly, a Hollywood production having their film or trailer on Facebook, they're being like having competition with a cute kitten.
Yeah.
10 like a 30 seconds video, and it is crazy how producers are working so hard to gain the trust back of their audience and have their focus for enough time. So I really believe these new platforms played a huge role in, encouraging new filmmakers and giving them the platform and the voice where it was really impossible 10 years ago. So I think it's really shifting the arena, somewhere else. And I believe this is healthy overall.
You hit on something interesting, and that is, a film trailer of high production is competing with like a kitten video on the internet. That's something that we as news producers grapple with too, that work in the digital space. What will work well on the internet? Shadi, we know that as AJ Plus, we publish on a lot of different platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. How are you mindful of the platform that you're producing for, and how does that actually shape the way you tell a story?
Yeah, so
Oh, the button.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, everybody. So at AJ Plus, we produce content that's tailored specifically for platforms. So when it comes to story selection, when it comes to even thinking about what we're going to report, the platforms are what we're thinking about right at the point of pitching. So when me and Dina are coming up with story ideas, we're literally thinking, how is this going to do on Facebook? How is it going to do on YouTube? If we think it's an important story to do and we don't think it'll do well, we think about how can we tell the story in the best way on that platform to make it do well, because it's important. So an example of that I can use is earlier this year, I started to catch wind on Facebook of people talking about Mark Zuckerberg. And they were talking about how Mark Zuckerberg had gone to Hawaii and purchased an enormous piece of land that actually technically belonged to Native Hawaiians. So this was a conversation that was bubbling up on Facebook, and it was really interesting that it was being driven on Facebook because it was about Mark Zuckerberg. So they were using his own platform to put him on blast, basically, to talk about him. So I was, when I was pitching the story, I was telling our managers that this is going to do so well on Facebook because the conversation is already there. There's already a niche audience that is very invested in this, and nobody else is reporting it the way we could. Now, when it comes to how we actually executed the story, we know that on Facebook, you have to capture an audience's attention within the first 3 seconds because of autoplay and because of scrolling. If you don't catch them in the first 3 seconds, they're gone. So what we did with Dina was we had her standing outside of Mark Zuckerberg's property in Hawaii speaking to a drone. And as she was talking about his property and putting her hands out, the drone lifted up and showed you the property. That captured everyone's attention and the video went viral. And we knew that doing something in that sort of technique would capture someone's attention in the first 3 seconds. So from the point of pitching to the point of execution, we were thinking about the platform and where it would do best. And it was actually pretty subversive for us to do the entire series talking about Mark Zuckerberg and what he was doing in Hawaii and planning for it to go viral on Facebook, which is his own platform. So another example of this that I can present is we were just in South Korea, and we were reporting on the tensions between North Korea and the US, and South Korea stuck in the middle. So this is a series that we were working on that was 4 parts, and our team focuses very much on YouTube now. So YouTube audiences are much like television audiences and film audiences. They're willing to sit and really invest a lot of time in watching a longer piece. They're really invested in personalities and brands and following Dina through the different places that she visits. So we can build our story out and have more of a story arc than we do on Facebook, have it longer, have it more in depth, more contextual. When it came to South Korea, it's obviously a conversation that's constantly popping up in the US as people are afraid of both what Trump and Kim Jong-un are always saying to each other. So we knew that the conversation would constantly pop up on Facebook, once a month maybe. But in producing the videos that we did, we tried to not only create videos that would do well on YouTube, meaning longer and more contextual, but also still try to capture the audience within 3 seconds on Facebook. So that was a time where we produced for both platforms, and that did really, really well. So I guess what I tend to tell audiences that are media professionals about thinking about platforms when you're producing news is that as journalists nowadays, we're not only just journalists, we're content producers. And that means that we don't just report the news, we also have a responsibility to share it and have it go as wide and as far as possible. Because if no one's seeing what we do, there's no point in our jobs, right? So that's also why it's so important for us to think about platforms when we're producing our news.
Just a fun fact to bounce off of what Shadi said, that video of us in Hawaii and talking about the land that Mark Zuckerberg purchased is the highest viewed video I've ever hosted on Facebook, funny enough. So we saw that go viral. I have another question for you, Shadi, and Mohammed, feel free to jump in too. And that is, what do you think the benefits are, and you kind of spoke to this, of doing journalism now in the social media space? How has it changed the rules of conventional journalism, and where do you think it's headed given that?
Yeah, so I think there's so many benefits that we've seen. One of the top ones that I think we've seen, especially at AJ Plus, is that we no longer talk at our audience, we talk to our audience. So we're very much, from the day that we started, engagement oriented. And that means that we no longer are these sort of voice of God journalists who are the voices of authority and are going to tell you what's going on and not even have a conversation with you afterwards. So everything that we do is around conversation and engagement. And that's been really nice because we've leveled the playing field and actually having conversations with our audience. And the ideas and what our audience does in terms of engagement influences our journalism as well, positively, in terms of story ideas. Another thing that I've really noticed is in terms of impact. So I started out in print, and I can tell you when I was at the New York Times or anywhere else, I could not tell you what the impact of any story that I was reporting was, because you put it out in the newspaper and that's all you see. This is well before social media where I worked there. And now with social media, we publish a video and we see right underneath the video people immediately engaging. We've done videos on refugees and had people, audience members, set up GoFundMe sites to raise money for people. We've seen people connecting and collaborating just in the comments. So it's really amazing as a journalist to be able to see the direct impact of the work that you're doing. I think also what's been really exciting is the world of citizen journalism that's opened up. We've seen from the Arab Spring to today that there are individual people who are using the tools at their disposal, cameras, video cameras, and phones, who are breaking news before journalists are, and are informing of news that we would have otherwise not known at all. And I think that's incredibly impactful. In the United States, with the Black Lives Matter movement, there's a lot of incidents of police brutality, police violence, and killings that we would have never known about if it hadn't been for citizen journalists and people just taking out their phone and filming. So that's really powerful. And those videos going viral on social media has literally changed the landscape of politics and society, in the United States at least. And I think also it's shifted, I'll just end with this, it's shifted a lot of media organizations, because social media video does so well, it's shifting now a lot of news organizations to pivot toward video, which actually has some negative consequences. What I've been seeing recently is a lot of print journalists actually being laid off and a lot of print organizations being gutted to bring video on. But the way that they're bringing video on is that they are looking for people who, instead of it being me, Dina, our camera person, our editors, they're looking for one person who will film. It's called one-man bands or one-woman bands. So these news organizations are now trying to duplicate what AJ Plus does without hiring the number of staff and providing the type of resources that it actually takes to do the work that we do, which means trying to hire one person to film, produce, edit, put out the videos. So paying one salary for the job of 4 people, which I think is a really disturbing trend in media, and I hope that we don't continue going down the path that we have with that.
There's one moment for me where social media just sort of blew my mind in terms of what we're able to do as journalists, and that was during the refugee crisis in Europe in 2015. Shadi and I were on the ground going from border to border with refugees, and it was right when Facebook Live became a thing. Not many people were able to use it yet. We were among the first journalists to ever broadcast going on Facebook Live, and what we did was we brought the refugee crisis right to somebody's hand in their living room, and you know, I'm fluent in Arabic, she's fluent in Farsi, and we said, we are at the border with Austria and Germany. What do you want to ask a refugee? Ask them anything. And we facilitated this two-way conversation, which it said a lot of people, blew their minds. It was a level of sort of engagement and interaction that you had never seen before. Switching gears a little bit, Mohammed, how powerful are our audiences right now?
Yeah, let me please first comment on
Yeah.
what she said, but from a film point of view.
Sure.
I think probably journalism, it might be easier to be on social media than film. In film, we have a lot of, like camera movement, we have cinematography, compositing, music, sound effects, and all these factors. I used to say years ago that TV, the way the audience watch TV is disrespectful to art. Because, when the audience is sitting in front of his TV, he's distracted by too many things, and probably he's like drinking his coffee and losing a couple of shots and seconds, and this is the plot. And right now, looking at how audience are watching on their mobile phones, I would say that it is just a different step toward, not focusing and confusing, way of watching, because they're not listening, to the music. I think the focus span is very limited, and this is affecting a lot of factors in film production. Editing has become like quicker, and probably actors louder, more exaggeration, and you need to tell the story in a shorter period of time. Now we are seeing a lot of drama for like a couple of minutes. You're telling a whole story and dramatic acting for a few minutes, because probably your audience won't stay for a 45-minute drama. And also probably you won't be able to pay for the cost of producing a 45 minutes drama and gaining nothing in return, almost, because YouTube revenues is like, it's not nothing, it's like breadcrumbs. So I think it puts really the production between, it's more polarizing the production more than ever. We have the $100 million+ Hollywood blockbusters, and now we have the cheap, like few $100 amateur productions.
And there's nothing in between?
Almost.
Wow.
We're losing this. We're losing this in the middle, because unless you really invest a lot of money, you don't have the power of marketing. And if you don't have this, you can, grab people's attention into theaters, and you can't sign these deals with all these, huge sharks studios. So I think it keeps polarizing, and this is scary for people who's trying to break into Hollywood and step up from the amateur filmmaking or small production budgets.
So to answer my question, how powerful are audiences? It sounds like they're powerful and they're damaging to your art.
They are super powerful right now. Audience has been always, they had the power, but there has been a lack of, let's say, communication. So me as an audience, like say 20 years ago, if I went into the theater and I watched a film and I didn't like it, I only have my word of mouth. I only can tell my friends, like, I didn't like it, no, don't go to this film, it sucks. But today, I can, make their life nightmare, like put a comment on each trailer they post on Facebook, like, don't go, this movie is a nightmare. And then I can affect how the film, revenues. I can dislike the video on YouTube, and too many dislikes can really cause a trouble. So one more thing, and this is really funny, by the way, and I think it is not fair from an artistic point of view, is that actors and actresses who has a lot of likes on their Instagram and Facebook, right now they have a priority in Hollywood, because if I casted, for example, Vin Diesel, let's take this guy, he has like 100 million+ likes on Facebook. When I cast him, regardless of his talents, I'm casting this 100 million, I'm approaching his audience, and I'm almost sure I will get at least a couple of million audience into my film. So the more popular you are, the more money you'll get, and the more likely you will be casted to play a role on a film.
But have you cast Vin Diesel?
Say again?
Have you cast Vin Diesel before?
Yeah, why not? I wish.
Hamid, I have another question for you. So you've worked on a variety of projects, from film to reality TV to television. You're now based in Washington, D.C.,
Yep.
just miles away from where the Trump administration is
The
headquartered.
orange guy.
They are drafting their anti-Muslim, anti-refugee policies. Do you think that film and television can be an antidote to the widespread Islamophobia that we're seeing in the U.S.? And if so, how?
Oh, I definitely think so, yeah. Listen, it has been done before, let's be honest. It has been done before many times. Let's look at other minorities in the United States. The Jewish community, the LGBTQ, the black, the African American black community. They've done a lot of work, great work in the last like 50 years. And they've changed, the way communities look at them and treat them. And it worked big time. And I think we, as an Arab Muslim community, we failed in this so far. We did not use this, tool, this magnificent tool, in humanizing and by the way, it's a shame to use the word humanizing to humans, but unfortunately,
it's necessary. Unfortunately,
we have to use it. We have been like demonized over and over and over. I'm pretty sure everyone here in the audience have watched a lot of Hollywood blockbusters and have seen how horrible Arabs and Muslims are being represented. Endless examples, unfortunately. And we haven't done our job. And I think we're 100% responsible. Let me give you an example, a really funny example we've done. We produced a TV commercial, a parody called Islamophobia. And I'm not sure if Brother Nihad Awad is here, so we produced it for CARE. And the commercial is a funny commercial for a gum, that if you have Islamophobia, you just take a gum as a medicine. It's a joke, of course, but the gum is real. And you will get rid of Islamophobia in seconds. And it was a huge breakthrough, and Americans, they loved the ad. They loved it. And they watched it, and a lot of major networks, CNN, ABC, they aired this many times. So I believe in the goodness inside people. People are good by their very nature, and you just need to show them yourself, and show them how you are. We're no superheroes. We're just normal human beings, and we really hope to be portrayed in such a manner. So I really believe that media production, films, movies, TV series, TV shows can be a huge successful antidote to Islamophobia, and the answer is very simple. Just let's work and produce.
To your point, some of you might be familiar with Reza Aslan, who's a religious scholar. He's the author of Zealot, No God But God. And he has this theory. He says that, I've been cable news's favorite TV Muslim pundit. I've gone on cable time and time again. It is getting us nowhere. And he points to a show, an American sitcom called Will and Grace. And he says that what Will and Grace did for the LGBT, the gay community in the United States, and the fight for marriage equality was huge. It shifted public opinion in favor of that. And what we need is a Muslim American Will and Grace. We need, to your point. So we'll wait for you to come up with that project and produce it and direct it, and we'll all tune in. Shadi, I want to switch gears back to news for a second. We're talking a lot about Facebook, and we know that a huge percentage of us, of Americans, of young people, and people all over the world get their news from Facebook as a primary source. There's a troubling dynamic, though, now, which is called the echo chamber effect, where basically your feed keeps resurfacing things that you like, and you keep seeing news articles and pages and videos that are similar to your interests. To what extent does that worry you, that you're only preaching to the choir and we're only getting news that we want to hear?
Yeah, the echo chamber is a huge problem. So social media, predominantly Facebook, and now Instagram, now that Facebook's algorithm kind of runs that platform too. Facebook is really just a place for you to affirm your existing worldviews. If you think about it, everything that you share on that platform is in some way associating yourself with the content, which means that it's most likely that it reaffirms the existing political, societal, etc. views that you already have. And just like in real life, the people that we surround ourselves with, our friends, not family so much, because we don't really have a choice in that, but they also confirm our existing worldview. There's rare people out there, I think, that keep in their very close inner circle people that highly disagree with them on most fronts, including politics, religion, society, etc. So when you look at something like that, and the way that Facebook's algorithm works, it means that, like Dina said, you're pretty much going to get on your feed only content that you agree with for the most part. And that's a huge problem, especially, I'm sure it's a huge problem everywhere in the world, but I can speak for the United States. When we look at what happened with the US elections, one point I really want to make about it, because it's been spoken about to death, but with journalists, there was journalists from so-called, left and liberal news organizations that were absolutely shocked, just floored, and could not believe that Donald Trump won. Well, I think that is quite endemic of the echo chamber that extends from social media out to your life. So if you are a journalist, an individual, but a journalist in particular, that is on either of the coasts of the United States, which tend to be very liberal and left, and predominantly on your social media and in the bubble that you live in, all you're seeing is people who are anti-Trump. Of course, you're going to be absolutely shocked when the country nominates this man. So when it comes to media, we absolutely exploit the fact that social media creates niche audiences. It means it's very easy for us to target the content that we're creating to an audience and know that they're going to blow it up because it's what they agree with, it's what they believe. And for activists, it's a great thing, right? You have created these circles of people that agree with you and you're constantly feeding them. It's also really great for fake news. Fake news publishers completely exploit this because they create news that feeds these echo chambers and continues it and keeps it going. So for those three types of people, it's great. But in terms of fostering a diverse society where we actually not only are aware of other people's point of views, but are willing to sit down and listen to them or watch them, it's really terrible. And so as journalists, if what we're actually trying to do, when I was in journalism school, one of my colleagues said something to the effect that the role of journalists is to introduce neighbors to each other. We don't do that anymore, especially on social media. Instead, we feed the groups that already think a certain way with certain content, and we feed other groups with other content in order to feed our own need for the likes and the views and the et cetera, the engagement, right? But I have sort of a solution to crack the algorithm, which is if all of us in this room today were to go online and you were to add a bunch of people who you normally would not agree with, maybe, for me, people from high school that, I don't talk to anymore and probably espouse completely different views than me, and you start to like and engage with their content, your algorithm will change. And the type of worldview that you'll receive in your feed will change. So there's ways to hack the system that's been created to keep us in our very narrow tunnels.
I feel like that's the digital way of saying, go out and talk to someone, right?
Yeah.
Like how many of us do that these days?
Meet somebody different than yourself,
Right.
like our parents taught us.
But Mohammed, we know that the magic and the power of film and television and entertainment is that it perhaps can reach people and build bridges in a way that news can't. As journalists, we talk about, in America at least, we talk a lot about the importance of diversity in the newsroom. The more diverse your team is, the more perspectives you have, it ultimately creates better content.
Yeah, I agree.
Talk to me a little bit about the diversity that exists in the film and entertainment industry. Do you think we have enough Muslim, Arab, Middle Eastern screenwriters, directors, and filmmakers? And how have you seen it have an impact, if so?
Oh, no.
Huh?
Oh, no.
No.
I remember once I stood in one of the largest Muslim conventions in the States. It's called Mass Ikna. It takes place in Chicago each December. And there was like 10,000 people sitting in front of me, Muslims, Americans. And I asked them, how many people of here are doctors or engineers or have anyone in their family who is a doctor, is an engineer, and almost the whole, hall, they raised their hand. Good, we're educated, alhamdulillah. But then I asked them, who works here as a filmmaker, or in his family he has a filmmaker? And almost no hands was, risen. So we have this problem, and we don't believe in media as a communities. We treat it as a, as a hobby.
Tell us why that's the wrong attitude.
Why?
Why is that a wrong attitude to have?
Let me be really honest, and being a doctor, for example, if someone a doctor and he wants his son to become a doctor, this makes a lot of sense from like a professional and financial point of view. Filmmaking is not a paradise. It's not an easy career. It's very challenging, and starving artist is not a joke. It is it's a reality. So, but I really believe that if anyone, he has the passion and he has the talent, his parents, I really wish that they, push them forward, and, they encourage them to become whatever they want. And this is not happening right now. There's a lot of talented people, and they have the passion, but their parents are telling them, okay, nice, here's a camera, play with it at the weekend, and, just study a real thing, become a real thing. And until we change this way of thinking, we will be stuck at the same place, because I won't, expect someone else to tell my story in a better way and tell my narrative. And it just doesn't happen. And we have a chance right now, especially in America, that if any Muslim youth, they want to join the media, I think the timing is perfect. And people and the audience are waiting to listen to their voice. So this is a perfect timing. Just jump up, take it. Probably we won't have such a golden opportunity again. Mm-hmm. And it needs a leap of faith. It needs you to jump and join and start making your films. And it is a risk, yes. And I all the time when youth come to me in the States and ask me, I tell them, give yourself a year. Call it a year off for the sake of film. And give it a shot. Have a course, like a crash course in a film school, attend some professional setting, and make your own short films, and see where this is going. And if you see yourself, heading somewhere, please make this your career. We need you. We need someone like you to tell your story, and this is probably the most important thing to happen for us as Muslims in the States.
Just out of curiosity, who in this room works in media or is a journalist? مين منكم بيشتغل بالإعلام أو الصحافة? Oh, that's a lot of people. Okay, so mostly everyone. In that case, I'm gonna move to questions then, because I imagine people have questions. Are there any questions here for the speakers or myself? Yeah, there is. Okay, do we have a microphone situation? We have a microphone. Okay. Please say your name and your question.
My name is Rabia Zioud from Palestine. And I have, first, thank you for your amazing panel and amazing discussion. It's very interesting what you're talking about. Shadi, I have a question for you. You said that in order to create a good content and to show it in the quality that you show it at AG+, you need a team of 4 people.
More than that, least. But that's what we have.
Yeah. You need a team of a couple of people. So, but today on the Facebook, you don't put ads on your videos, and it requests a lot of energies, a lot of travel, a lot of work. How you have Al Jazeera behind you, so how another organization can be still relevant and create such a content and publish it for free on the social media? So this is the question. How other organizations can be still relevant in this domain?
That's a great question. I get asked that a lot because we do work for Al Jazeera, so we can say such things and not worry so much about having to sell ads or anything like that. But there are a lot of news organizations that have found a way. I think I'll just say, first of all, I hope that my point isn't so much that one person can't do it all, because they can. I just have more of a problem with media organizations setting a precedent where they're requiring one human being to do 4 jobs and paying them for one. I just think that's a really bad precedent to set, and a lot, in the US at least, all of them are going in that direction. And I just think that's a great disservice, and it's also really disrespectful to our profession, because editing is a highly skilled job, and so is producing, and so is presenting, and to expect one person to do it all, there's many who can. I mean, I can shoot and edit too, but I don't think it's fair to pay me one salary to do 3 or 4 jobs. But I completely hear what you're saying. So I think that it's extremely expensive to do video content. It's extremely expensive to do video content that's original reporting in the field especially. And as more news publishers are moving toward trying to do what we do, financial and resources is a huge thing that they have to consider. And if they don't have the finances and the resources, you shouldn't do it. And that's sort of more my point. It's toward the organizations, not toward the individuals. I think there's amazing individuals who can do it. In terms of the way media organizations can make money, I mean, a lot of them are going toward rolling ads now. A lot of them are moving towards the ads, you know, in the center of videos. A lot of audience members don't like that, but it is a way to make money. Places like Now This, you know, they have big investors. There's places like Vice that do a lot of branded content. So there's lots of different ways that people are coming up with the finances. But it is extremely expensive to do documentary film, to do original reporting. And that's why I'm saying if you don't have the resources, don't hurt your staff.
Let's get another question. We just have like 3 minutes left, I think.
Oh, we can talk after.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where's the microphone?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Hi, Hanan Yousfi.
Hi.
Can I talk in Arabic? It's much better.
You can translate for me.
Or English. It does matter, but
Doesn't
Arabic
matter.
I feel
She can-
Depends on
myself
your
more
question.
comfortable.
Depends on your question, who you're talking to.
Okay. I'm talking to you, by the way, Mr.
خلاص.
Muhammad
Yeah,
and
talk
You
to
Mr.
me
can,
now.
you
Dina
can talk
as well.
Arabic, please, yeah.
And from Madam Dina, if we can. Okay. سؤالي صراحة أنا نورمالي كنت شغالة مع الهافنتون بوست عربي، بعدين اشتغلت بالسوشيال ميديا مع مودانيزا، بعدين حاليا مديرة تسويق بإحدى الماركات التركية اللي هي أرمان. حقيقة من الأشياء يلي بتمنى إنه كل العالم تعرفها أو يعني كيف العربي كيف ممكن يوصل يشتغل الشغل او يحظى بالبوزيشن اللي بده اياه، انه دائما لازم يكون في نتوركينج ولازم يكون شغل كثير منيح ولازم يكون دائما في شغله او نقطه تحول في حياتك ممكن يعني تشتغل عليها كرمال تطور من حالك. سؤالي لكم، شو هو الستاندردز يلي بتعتمدوا عليها كرمال تشغلوا العالم معكم بالار جي بلس؟ كمان شغله، هل راح يكون في ار جي بلس عربي ابلكيشن ولا لا قريبا؟ بتمنى انه يكون صراحه موجود، لانه هذا راح يطور من شغلكم كثير، خاصه انكم عم تعتمدوا كثير على الفيديوز والكونتنت which is it's gonna work for 5 years like literally. كمان أستاذ محمد، بعرف إنه عندك فيجن معينة بالفيديوهات والأشياء اللي بتعملها، بدنا نعرف شو هي تطورات أو شو هي التكنولوجيا اللي عم تعتمدها حالياً كرمال تطور من شغلك وكرمال يكون الفيجن تبعك أكثر، ممكن نحكيها أكثر دقة أو أكثر تطوراً مع التكنولوجيا الموجودة حالياً، لأن أنت بتعرف إنه حالياً ما في حدا ما بيتطور معها، خاصة في الفيسبوك السوشيال ميديا، وممكن نطلع كمان على انستغرام. بعرف إنه ما عندك انستغرام which is صراحة weird. فبدنا نشوف الأفلام تبعك قريباً، و good luck for RG Plus as well.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'll start answering your question. I usually look into technology as a tool. I don't look at it as a big thing. It's just a tool. You know, I can use any camera that does the job. I can use any like a crane or a tool or a microphone if it does the job. So I don't really invest a lot of time looking into technology because I look into it as a tool. From a just to be more specific, I try to film as a like in 4K resolution. I try to get the camera with the largest sensor to get the most light and the better colors, better image, and but I really look into this as a tool. And I have a saying regarding this thing. I call filmmakers who keep following new cameras all the time and invest a lot of their time doing this as a writer who invests his time studying pens and pencils. So I really look at it as we need to tell a story, and this is just a tool that I use to tell my story. So that's my answer.
In terms of your questions, I don't actually hire for AJ Plus, so I can only tell you what I know. I know that we hire people who are driven, who buy into the mission, the editorial principles of AJ Plus, which is to give voice to the voiceless, to speak truth to power, to challenge the status quo. About AJ Plus Arabic app, I'll have to get back to you on that, and I know I have some colleagues in the room who could better answer it, but I'll find you outside and I'll give you a better answer. But to give someone else an opportunity for a question, are there any more questions in the room? We have one. We have some in the back. Well, one more. It's okay. They waited. They were very patient. They waited to come. We have one in the back, one in the front. Maybe the back. Show the back some love. Sorry.
Assalamu alaikum. Abdurrahman Al-Mahsan. My question is, for how far the social media can endanger or damage the TV programs?
Sorry, did you guys get that? How can you repeat that?
Mr. Muhammad. For how far can the social media endanger or damage the TV programs and
TV programs. Yeah.
the TV programs or the films?
Okay.
Okay. Just I complete. And for the social media, how can we control the truth of news on social media? That's it.
Mohammed, did you understand? I'm not sure I got the second one, but we can answer one question.
I think I got the first part of the question regarding me, that if social media is going to damage TV, films, series, shows, whatever, right? So that's your question.
That's it.
Yeah, so in my opinion, the audience will always be willing to watch a 2-hour film. Always. And even though the focus span is getting reduced by time, but I think it's like a football game. No matter how tight your schedule is, you're going to dedicate this hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to watch a football game. Same applies for films. So films, in my opinion, films are eternal. They're forever. But drama series are somehow getting affected by social media. But this is a very long answer, and I don't have time for it. So if we only have 1 minute, I will answer this later.
Okay, the last question. Let's take it here, please.
Okay.
Hello. Okay. My name is Hisham. My question to Mr. Muhammad, actually regarding to movie industry, I think like 3 of you lived in United States or still currently living in the United States. So of course you see you're watching and observing how the Hollywood portraying like Muslims and Arabs. So my question here, Mr. Muhammad. Is there any presence for Muslims in this industry and institution in like Hollywood, and in which extent they are there, like as a presence, and if they can really like affect there and be and play a main role? Thank you.
Let me answer this very shortly. I don't have a study for like how many Muslims there are in the industry, but to be very specific, it really depends on how many Muslims are in the affecting roles. So say if you have like 100 camera operator, they might not really change anything when it comes to the narrative. But if you have one producer or one screenwriter, so this is a big thing. So we need Muslims in positions where we tell the story. Of course, we need them everywhere, but this is where it's really critical to have Muslims in as a producers and as screenwriters, directors, people who have the decision. Right now, there's almost nobody in these positions. So this is why we're facing this problem. We need people in these positions. And this is a long story because these needs investments also, right? We don't invest in this. I truly believe we need to invest in studios, really. And I see this as the best way to invest millions of dollars in Hollywood studios, and not only as like a silent, partner or investor, no, to play a role and to push it forward, to have a certain script or story to be produced. Why not to have a Muslim superhero like Spider-Man? I would love to see that. That would be very interesting. And why not to see a main character or a main story that it surrounds like a Muslim family in a positive, normal, natural way. This depends on the financing, producers, directors, screenwriters. This is the key word.
Yeah, it's definitely not just about the star in front of the camera, but there was an important moment earlier this year. An African-American actor named Mahershala Ali won Best Supporting Actor either at the Oscars or the Golden Globes. And this was just a couple of months after Trump signed his first Muslim ban.
Right.
And when he was accepting the award, he said, "I am Muslim," in front of a global audience. And that was such a huge moment for us as American Muslims.
Yeah.
And I think for the greater American society at large, I think there is an appetite now for our stories to be told, especially when we're up against, an administration like this one, that resistance and that sort of solidarity. I think there's an appetite for it now more than ever. I'm so sorry that I can't get to all of your questions. We're absolutely out of time, so it's not on me. He's telling me out of time. Thank you all so much for coming to this conversation, this dialogue. I want to thank the organizers of El Sharq Forum, everybody working this event. Oh.
Can we take her question? Can we just take her question, please? No?
He said, you're telling me talk to her outside? I'm so sorry. I promise we'll talk to you outside. Thank you. Oh. I'm breaking the rules here. We'll talk. Thank you, guys.
Let her talk.